Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to Bata. My name is Sid. I've got the best bassist of India with me right now. I've got Sheldon D'Silva.
Oh, is he coming?
Sheldon, no, no, no. Of course, he's a musician. He's a fantastic bassist. He's a producer. He's a composer. He's worked with a lot of people. He's worked with Shankar Mahadevan, with George Duke, Mike Stern. The resume is absolutely insane. He's been on both Pakistani and Indian Coke Studio, like he told me. He's been doing a lot of these recordings as well, haven't you? Like you've been through
Yeah,
this coronavirus thing.
yeah, because of this virus and pandemic, we're all safe in our comfort of our homes, and I've been just doing this I've just putting out some videos and recording on some tracks and producing songs, and just keeping myself busy with all the music besides all the cooking and cleaning.
Just to let you guys know, I met Sheldon during one of his shows. This was Rakesh Chaurasia, if I'm not wrong, correct?
Raf, yeah,
Yeah. I think it was Raf, right? It was Raf.
yeah, this is Raf. Yeah, I'm wearing a Raf T-shirt also right now.
Oh, that's nice.
So we're advertising it.
You're a placement on point.
Yeah, it's on
No.
point. And also, it's a good thing because you brought it up because we are doing a new song actually, and it's going to be coming out pretty soon, and it's very different from what we've done in the past. So I think people are going to enjoy it.
That sounds fantastic. So like shout
Yeah,
out to Rakesh Chaurasia, Dino's gonna be around, right?
yeah.
So all those
Gino,
guys. Is the
Sangeet,
same
yeah.
squad? Is the same squad?
Same. Rakesh, Gino, Sangeet, Satyajit on the tabla, and Sanjay Das on the guitar. Yeah,
Yeah.
and our manager also Naya with that. Without her, I don't think we'd be playing anywhere.
Shout out
Maybe.
to her, man. Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you guys something. Like I was honestly like when I got there, right, I was basically fangirling over like Gino Banks. I'll be honest about that, right? Like before the
Okay.
show, before the whole thing, because I'm a drummer, I have that background. I'm like, Gino Banks. I was like, all right. And then this gentleman comes up with a bass and does this solo, and I'm like, holy, this make like bassing sound so cool. So and you started this quite early, didn't you? You started this like at like
Yeah, I
12,
started playing
13.
bass when I was 12. Yeah, when I was about 12 years old. I did play guitar since I was 10 years old, and my father was actually the root cause of me taking up the guitar. He was one of the co-factors of me taking up the guitar, and then he was the co-factor of telling me, what you need to learn the bass. And I'm like, what is this instrument? And I did not understand anything about it till he brought home this cassette of Weather Report, and I heard Jaco Pastorius play Team Town, and I was like, okay, now that's what bass is. I want to learn that.
Yeah.
And that's how I just got attracted to bass, and I was playing bass for a few years along with guitar. That's how the journey was. And I was lucky that I met some very influential and great musicians. And there was this great guitar player called Michael Godino who introduced me to Louis Banks, actually. And
Yeah.
that's how, and I was about 13 years old. And Uncle Louis was then, so kind, and he would call me over to the studio, and he taught me a lot of stuff, gave me a lot of information. And that's where I met Gino, because he called in and said, Gino, come and hear this bass player who's just 13 years old. So it was very funny because both of us are in like school uniforms, and we're sitting in the studio, and that's the first time I met Gino, and so then it took off from there. And I started playing with a lot of pop and rock bands and just
Mm.
learning that music because we didn't have really much of an education, and bass was not uh, something that was taught. But my greatest influence in India was Carl Peters,
Right.
and he was really the cat at that point in time,
Right.
playing some great gigs, and he was just amazing, and he had a great sound, and his technique was incredible. So the thing is, I would follow him, and I would really try to learn just by watching. That's all we had till
Right.
we got our hands on some few instructionals.
I think a lot of people classify you as a jazz bassist, which I don't think you are. I think you're more versatile than that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just don't like categorizations or genre
right.
specific stuff. I'm a musician. I've never been a jazz bass player
Right.
because I don't even know what that means, actually, to be very honest with you.
True.
Like, yeah, it's very complex to call yourself one thing, and then, it's more pressurizing also. So, because I enjoy so many styles of music, and I grew up with rock and roll, actually, to be very honest. So, I didn't associate with jazz till a lot later, you know.
Right.
And it's just that jazz as a genre it gives the bass a better spotlight as compared to a lot of other genres. So the fact that a bass was playing a bass solo is going to happen more in the jazz world as compared to other genres of music. So obviously, if the bass player playing a bass solo means he's got to be a jazz bass player. It was just sort of connected like that. But no, I mean, I love playing all kinds of music. I've played with all kinds of bands.
Yeah.
I've played right from rock to fusion to all kinds of stuff.
How do you write a bass line in general? How does that go?
The thing is that there are multiple ways. There's no real one way to do it. And for me, it's always, painting the bigger picture. So for me, I don't think about bass. I think about music. So the thing is, for me, if I'm hearing a song or there's somebody that comes to me with a song, I look at the song and I want to understand what that picture needs rather than what I'm going to do to that picture. So because the thing is that sometimes people come to me thinking that they want, a lot of playing or they want some very funky kind of lines, but sometimes the music does not need it. And I'm constantly trying to fight that battle and say, no, but the music is actually going to sound a lot better if it's played like this, or the bass does not play in a part maybe, and they get really flustered by that because they feel like, oh, they're paying you. So, he's talking about not playing in a part. But I'm like, no, you need that space. You need to not have bass in this area because maybe when the bass comes back, it has more of an impact.
Yeah.
But I've always looked at music as a bigger picture, and I like to make sure that it all sounds good rather than just the bass sounding good. Because maybe today it's becoming a little bit more about me and, this whole trend that now we follow, especially on social media. People put up a lot of videos that are all solo videos, right, of them busting chops and shedding, right? So what happens is in those videos, there's nothing against that. That's totally fine, and it's amazing, and you get to see some incredible talents like that. But what happens with that is it's centric or focused on that person. And the music sort of can take a very rather a back seat, So for me, that's never been the way I learned music. So I always enjoyed listening to bands like Chick Corea Electric Band, Tribal Tech, and then the way the bass functioned in that band, like Weather Report, and they had all incredible musicians. Everyone was a soloist, but how the music works in those bands is what made me get to that music, want to learn the instrument, and go forward. So I always encourage bass players or even musicians, because I teach in this university now. I teach ensemble class.
Really, that's fine.
In MIMS University.
Okay.
And which is offering a degree program in music, in Western music. And it's a fantastic program, and it has some world-class equipment, and everything is pretty spot on. And in the ensemble classes, it's all about that how you make an ensemble sound good, not yourself.
Right.
So the thing is that as far as making yourself sound good, you do it in your solo classes, in your lab classes. But when you come into an ensemble, it's about making the song sound good, the music sound good, and the other guys in the band sound good. And if you can do that, then you're successful as a musician,
True.
That's why we call it musician, because it's about music first. I live like that, and I rather.
That's an amazing philosophy. I think this whole solo thing also becomes a little more prominent because even with you, I think you're not restricted to one particular group only or one particular band only.
Yeah, that's true.
So you kind of explore a lot. Although I do see you a lot with Gino, a hell lot with Gino and with Louis for that matter. But I mean, you guys sound fantastic together.
Yeah, when it comes to soloing, see, the thing is, you asked me about that also. The thing is, a solo is actually a spot where you get to, have a say, or rather tell a story from your point of view. But that story is being told within another story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you're already telling a story. Now, if you take off on a different tangent sometimes and tell a story that's completely unrelated, you could tend to lose the concept or the content matter. Rather.
Right.
It's very important when playing a solo. Also, you're playing contextually to the song.
True. Yeah.
And then you take that further, and you can divert it. I'm not saying you can't divert the story sometimes. You can, but it has to take off from somewhere. You can divert, do your thing, take the spotlight, kill it, but you got to come back and bring the music back.
Yeah, that's so true. Sheldon, how many years have you been doing this? This is 12, 13. You've been doing this for at least 20 years?
Yeah, it's got to be like 24 years or maybe more. Maybe
Wow. Any experience or any gig you've ever been to where you've had like a either an extremely amazing or an extremely terrible experience with something or the other. Some fun story. I'm sure you've got a bunch.
Oh God, a lot of. I don't know about. You really want like bad experience? I don't know about that.
Anything is fine. Anything goes. Yeah.
You mentioned, like George Duke and Al Jarreau. That's the time I played with them at the Gateway of India, actually.
Right.
And it was a funny story because the thing was I was 20 at that time, and they had this rehearsal from morning till about evening with another bass player, and they were trying to learn these songs, and the rehearsals were going a little bit back and forth and stuff like that, and they were not too happy with the outcome of things,
Mm-hmm.
So I get the call actually through another friend who was there with another great musician from the US, George Brooks, and another singer, Joe Alvarez. They were at the rehearsal, so they called up Louis Banks saying that, you know what, I think we need a bass player, uh, and who understands jazz and can play some of this music, and they also can read the music because they have just brought these humongous charts.
Right.
And I was luckily at Louis Banks' house rehearsing with Gino, and we had a rehearsal there. And so Uncle Louis comes in and tells me, what they've called, and they think they need a bass player for this gig. And I was like, what? Like, I mean, trying to fathom this whole conversation that
Right.
makes no sense, because they're playing the concert the next day, and this is like somewhere at 8 o'clock in the evening that you're telling me that they need a bass player, and like I'm trying to understand what is going to happen. And so Uncle Louis says, no, I think you just go. And Gino says, come on, I'll drive you to NCPA, the rehearsal of the NCPA. And they just, and Suzanne was with us also, the singer Suzanne DeMello. So she was with us, and she said, I'm coming as well. So we all, three of us are like driving on our way to NCPA. And on the way, I get a call from NCPA saying, from somebody saying that, they're wrapping up this whole rehearsal. They have been at it from morning 9 o'clock. So I don't think you should, come now because it's too late.
Right.
I think forget it. So then Gino says, like, okay, never mind, damn it, whatever. We'll at least try it. I said, yeah, come on, we'll go get some dinner or whatever. So we took a U-turn, were leaving for a restaurant. And again, I get another call. And this time on the phone, this lady comes up and says, hey, that, so you were planning on coming? I said, yeah, but somebody just called me and said not to come. She said, just hold on a second. And she gives the phone to George Duke. And so George Duke comes on the phone and is like, so Sheldon, do you read music? And I'm like, I'm not a great sight reader, but I can read a bit of notation, and I can definitely read chord charts and stuff.
Right.
And I'm trying to explain this to him. And I try to understand what kind of music they're also talking about, because reading music can vary from
Right.
jazz to pop. It's very different, So,
right.
But he's like, they're mainly jazz standards, and so he's very shaky. And I said, you know what, we were planning on coming. It'll take us about 40 minutes if you want to give it a shot. I just threw it out there, something you say it. And he said, okay, come, And I told I said, come on, okay, another U-turn. And we're back on the road. And within 40 minutes, I think we reached NCPA. And these guys are waiting up for us. It was around 9:30, I think, at night by that time. And, I just walk into this room, and it's filled with people. It's like packed. And I'm looking at everyone's face. Everyone's got this very serious, grim face. And I'm like, oh, God, it looks like somebody died in here,
Yeah.
And I'm walking into this lion's den right now. And they all look a bit, tired, upset. It's all happening like that. And it's okay. I walk in, I kind of set up in a corner. And I remember Al Jarreau telling George that, he just called out a tune, basically. I forgot which song it was, actually, but he called out a song, and George looked at him and said, you really want to hit him hard, don't you? So he said, if he can play this, then we can go ahead. Otherwise, we're wasting our time, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, and imagine I'm 20 years old dealing with this whole vibe, and I'm not even sure about myself, but I can read this music, and, all that's happening. But, he opened and he puts this chart in front of me, and it's like, it's like two white pieces of paper, and then he opens it up. So it opens up into 4 pieces of paper. So it's a
Right.
4-page chart, basically, a huge chart. And I'm like, oh shit, this doesn't look easy. It's a very complex chart. It had bass lines written, it had chords written, and it had unison lines written. So now I'm
Right.
reading. I have to read all of this passage, and I don't know what. I only think that God was with me, honestly, because He just played through me, and I just managed to play this tune, and then I finished playing the song. They all had a smile on their face, Finally, all of them smiled, and I was like, okay, I think that was not bad,
Right.
So then Alger really smiled and he said, hey, Shali, where have you been all day, man? And I was like, I don't know what to say to him. But then then we rehearsed actually the whole set that night from that 9:30 to 9:30, till about 11:30, 12 at night.
Right.
And I just, whatever I could go through, they just ran me through the tunes really fast. So I had to just learn it on the fly. Next morning was the sound check, and one of the Ravi Coltrane was also on this gig, but
Okay.
Ravi had already left and gone home because he was too tired. So I had to reach the sound check in the morning and then rehearse with Ravi, and hope that he liked my bass playing. It was like a very complex thing happening. But all in all, it was a very amazing show. I don't know. I just think again that God really played through me at that gig, because I don't know if I was ready for that kind of music and that kind of level of stage with such legends.
Sure.
It comes from above. I think such things, because you have to be fortunate, and really it has to be written in your destiny, because these kind of things you cannot plan for. You cannot go to music school and expect this. You can never have such experiences. And I'll tell you one more funny part about this concert, but
Right.
it was at the Gateway, right? So it was a beautiful setup, and I'm standing at the back over there, and everything is laid out, and the gig, and he counts off this tune, and we start the tune. It's sounding all right, and then the whole music stand just flies away because the wind is so strong at the Gateway of India that my whole music stand has gone into the winds. And I'm like, holy shit, like, what do I do now? Forget about reading music. Like, this is like extreme.
Right.
And George's charts have also flown over his piano. They're all on the floor. But obviously he knows the tunes really well. So he didn't care about it. He was still just killing it. But here I'm just looking for my charts. They're gone somewhere else. And now there's a bunch of guys running to find these sheets. Now they're taping all that. They put this distillery kind of box. It opened it up, and they had clipped all the charts over there. And finally clipped it to the music stand, and then now this music stand's there. And the whole gig, I held the music stand with my leg so that it would not move. I held it down with my leg, and I played the whole gig like that, changing charts, but holding the stand, because it was blowing so much that most of the charts would have gone.
Right.
So it's a funny but crazy.
Yeah, that sounds difficult. That too, you've got this added pressure of having to play with these guys over here.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's like an audition, like you can't expect,
Yeah, exactly.
My dad also always said this, like, when the challenge comes, you don't back out, you just go for it. Never mind. Fail, it's okay, but do not quit, just go for it. So I just believe in that, and it's okay. We take sometimes some things too seriously.
Yeah.
And we worry about a lot of things, but sometimes, there are higher forces also that help you when the time is right. So you need to just believe in that and, just go forward.
Anything you have for budding musicians out there trying to make it, trying to figure out how to get there? Any word of advice you've got for them?
It's getting harder to give advice about music in a world today, to be very, very, very honest, because we are at a very odd sort of precipice, I think, as far as music is concerned.
Right.
Because the big questions are, one is, obviously, you're taking it up as a career, or two is a hobby. If it's a hobby, I mean, all I can say is, practice, enjoy it. That's how it is.
Right.
And you should enjoy what you're doing, be passionate about it, give it all you've got, try all sorts of ways to enjoy music, like I said, just not your instrument. So whatever you're learning is one thing, but make sure that musically it makes sense and you are paying attention to everything around you as a musician.
Right.
That being said, that still falls a little bit into the fun part of being a musician. When you come decide to being a professional musician that wants to make, there are a lot of things that you need to mold yourself to be a musician. Like it's not just about the music anymore. It's about who you are, your personality, your skills as a person, your skills as to how you want to perceive music, first of all, your passion about it, because all of this, your individualistic personality starts becoming transparent, and it starts feeding into your music. So the thing is that is what attracts the work.
Right.
So you could be a fantastic guitar player or a bass player or a drummer or whatever, but you could not attract any work because sometimes there are other obstacles, other blocks that are there, because there's a lot involved to being a professional musician, because it's about communication. It's about a language that you have to have with other people. It's not about you anymore. It's about understanding what somebody else wants, and sometimes doing stuff that maybe it's not according to your principle. Like I said, I like to see music and I want to hear it in a particular way and probably play something in a particular way that makes me feel good.
Right.
But if somebody's paying me to do something, maybe I have to make him happy and not just bring in my ideologies. Sometimes
Right.
I've got to do what they want to do. So that ball game is very different, and finding the balance and doing things that work for you and work for the client is something that you have to learn. So as a professional thing, you have to balance out your attitude and your personality and
Right.
your concepts and your principles and ideologies, and it has to all balance and become a smooth flowing river that can move forward, rather than just banging into corners constantly, and you'll get stuck somewhere, or you'll build a dam for yourself and it's not going to move forward. Also, what happens is, I've noticed with the youngsters is that today's trend, like I've been thinking about this actually from this whole pandemic, and I just thought I would share it because it's so relevant for today.
Yeah.
Is that social media is a fantastic platform, no doubt. But yes, it has its pros and cons. And if you notice the music that comes out of social media today, or what everyone's doing, is a little bit centered around yourself. You're the star. It's about you, and people are just putting out videos from their phones, and you do whatever because it becomes so easy, right? Because you can just put on your phone, put it out there, and just go for it. That's it.
Right.
But when I think about how I got attracted to music and what made me want to be a musician, was actually a very simple thing. It was the sound of the music. It was the sound and the way the music was actually played to us. So it included the sound, and it also included how well packaged the music was. So
Right.
we would always, the first, like I just give you examples, like we didn't even have great quality video and audio. We were watching things on VHS cassettes and
Right.
that kind of stuff. So but when we saw a concert by maybe Pink Floyd or Toto or Phil Collins or Sting, you would see these concerts, or you would see even instructional videos by John Patitucci or Dave Weckl or Chick Corea, any of these bands. Whenever you heard anything come out from them, it was amazing sound and incredible video as well. It was always packaged so well, and it was always music first. Then you would notice the musicians and the bass player and the drummer, whatever you wanted to notice. But today what happens is everything is this solo shot of me flying and chopping out, which is nothing wrong with that. It's got its own greatness in that, and there's a lot of talent that we get to experience from that. But that's very different, because why I'm bringing this up is because today I think a lot of kids are doing that. Also, they think that maybe by doing that, that's how you become a great musician, or that's how you become really good. But it's not really just that. It's about the music, because only till you actually go out there and play with a band, learn the music, learn the sound, try to understand what is happening and how you can deliver music together, that's when you're actually going to become a great professional musician.
Right.
Because a lot of these kids that even sound fantastic on these Instagram videos, whenever they come out to play or whenever I hear them live, they're just not the same. They don't deliver that same thing because maybe they've edited it well in their house or they've got a different thing going. It's all about them, so they're in their comfort zone. Suddenly you put them in a different environment, and all hell breaks loose. Because
Right.
you just cannot deliver the same quality.
True.
And that is what's difficult. So for me, sometimes even when people ask me to put out some random live video, I'm like, yeah, sure.
Never mind. Yeah.
I can do it. I mean, I'm okay. I can go with the flow of the way things move today. But my ideology would be to put out something, well done. Just well packaged. It should include everything. It should include a great sound.
But Sheldon, don't you think? Do you think because it's become so easy and so accessible to sort of start making music at home, like you just mentioned, it's now people are just putting out music for the sake of putting out music. Do you think that's what is happening?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because of just the ease of things.
Right.
Like today, how many people are actually listening to music with their headphones? And I'm a bass player, so it's disappointing because most of the music that we put out or today that's coming out, people are listening with their phones or their ears like that, and are expecting to, I don't know what they're hearing actually. You're missing the bass, you're missing the whole perspective of at least like 20,000 frequencies that are just disappeared because you're listening to something off the phone speakers. And you're trying to understand, how are people listening to music? So they're not getting affected and it's not affecting them internally because, like I said, I started playing bass when I heard Jarreau play that Teen Town from Weather Report.
Right.
Because I heard it on a stereo system, It came with a cassette, I put it in there, and the stereo system played it, and the sound was like, it stuck in my head.
Right.
That's how good it was. But today, if you're listening to stuff off Instagram, and even if the bass player is incredible, you're listening to that sound that's coming out of a thin speaker, and if you're even using headphones, sometimes that sound is not even mixed or it's just in a room environment. So it has its flaws, right?
Right.
But that's the sound that you're embedding in a kid's mind,
right.
somewhere. Okay.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
right.
saying. So today, but people are not thinking like that, they're not understanding that is missing. So for me, I can remember every bass player that I heard for the first time. John Palatucci, Gary Willis, Tom Kennedy, Matt Garrison, all of them affected me with their sound, approach. I could hear every note, everything was, and it's like, when you eat a great dish for the first time, how it sticks in and stays in your mind. That is how, when you put out music, it should be actually.
True. That's a very, very appropriate analogy.
Since you asked me that question with regards to, becoming a pro musician, maybe.
Yeah.
That's my thing, that these kids need to go and find that sound. They need to go and understand it and make sure that is what's going further.
True.
Making sure that they're not just making music in your bedroom. It's being shared. It's being shared with a drummer, and he's recording the drums in his studio or whatever, and you're building on it and take it to a studio, mix it, learn that stuff also, get it mastered from people that know what they're doing. So it's a big difference. That goes down also in history, Like today we hear records from the 60s and 70s. That stuff is history. So even stuff that we put out today is going to be available one day in the future when things could progress and the sound could be amazing. And then they might look back and say, look at these fools, what they did,
Yeah.
So it should not be like that. It should not be like that. We look back sometimes at Michael Jackson and stuff, and we're still like, wow, how does it sound so good? Because he spent countless hours in the studio mixing it, and making sure that everything was recorded at that level. That's why he's reaped that benefit.
I think everyone listening who can, as you very correctly sort of classified, wants to either do it as a hobby or wants to do it, go the pro way. I think everyone's benefited a lot from everything you've said today.
There's so much information, but I just hope. And one thing before we even end.
Yeah, please.
It's about there is no one way to do anything. That's very important to understand, that you have to find your way. And it's very important that the intention is good and it's correct. And you want to just, however you feel best to go forward, do it. It's fine. You got to do trial and error. But just keeping in mind the bigger picture, like I said, that's all. Keep the bigger picture in mind. I think it will be good for everybody.
Absolutely. I swear to God, you guys need to listen to him. I'm going to put a couple of links of your videos as well as your Instagram and your Facebook in the description. Guys, go check him out.
Sure.
If someone like me can fall in love with bass because of him, I mean, whatever. Like that's I think a huge achievement. Sheldon, once again,
there are a lot of great bass players now in India, so I mean, please go and check them out.
There is another one I'm a huge fan of. I absolutely love listening to Mohini Day. She's absolute,
she's also great. She's fantastic.
Yeah, she's on another level. But Sheldon, man, absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, buddy. I think this has been really cool, man. So guys, thank you so much for watching this. I'm gonna see you guys next. Yeah, most welcome. I'm gonna see you guys next video. Bye.